Hello everyone, it's MA here. Hello, it's been a while. I haven't been making a lot of videos and I'm not sure if I will, but what I wanted to do is last year I did a series of, I think it turned into 5 or 6 videos where I filmed my whole collection. And I think I did that in November last year. And now it's November 7th. And I'm going to go ahead and just do an update of what has come in this year. There is some that have left that were in either purgatory or I realized I wasn't using them and have found new homes for. And I thought, this is partly an accountability thing where I thought to myself, I really hardly obtained any decks this year. And then when I piled them all together, it is far more than not many, but it's also less than have been happening the years leading up to this. And so that is a thing. I think I've showed before, I have an accountability system for myself to keep track of how many times I am actually using decks, where I have the list of my decks and every time a square gets filled in, it means I've used it 5 times. So I can really keep track and see what is and what is not being used. And also for some decks that I wasn't using, I've tried to bring them into the rotation lately, and I've been trying to find that some work better when I'm doing single card daily pulls and some work better in readings. So with that, I've tried to be mildly organized about how I'm going to break down what's come into my collection this year. So in December and January last year, I picked up a couple of decks honestly, because they appealed to me aesthetically and I wanted to own them. And the first one is the LLewllyn Taro is Color. This, as it turns out, I was not using very much at all. I do have this as more of an art object than a deck to read with, which I think is its intention. And what I've sorted out is a good way for me to use it is each week I pull a card with a few of my, witchy friends that we've been meeting and doing a book club every week. And then I'll pull the corresponding card from this deck and leave it out as a meditation card for the week. So that's how this deck is getting used now. So that's the first one, Taro is Color. The other one I bought at the very end of last year was the Cantigee Oracle. Everything about it appealed to me. I was doing the card a week, go through the Wheel of the Year study. I stalled out just about exactly at the first day of summer. So I got about halfway through. So I will pick it up back again. I haven't really used it for divination. I was using it more for a combination of a writing prompt and reading the book and doing some of the prompts in there. But everything about that deck just screams in my face that it and I need to hang out together. So that kind of brought me into the end of December, beginning of January. Then the next thing that I have piled up together, there were decks when I made my deck collection video that I noted I had already backed and paid for on Kickstarter and they hadn't arrived yet. And these are the 4 that have come in this year. The first being the Brother to Brother Oracle by Levi over at Masculine Intuition Readings, which is, Levi, if you're watching, turned out to be one of my most used oracles this year. It just really works for me. I love that all the keywords are verbs, and that frequently is the kind of journaling readings I'm doing, is where I actually need to come up with an action plan, and I'm just loving working with that deck. The next one was the Blue Earth Tarot, which is a very pippy deck, and it's based on a bunch of collaged cyanotype prints. It's monochromatic, done in these gorgeous blues, done by an artist in Canada, and I had backed that last year, and that arrived in good order this year. We're doing the flybys here, folks. I had backed from the James R. Eads Green Glyphs collection. I only backed the Lenormand, just because that was where I had a gap. I didn't have a Lenormand deck, and this one appealed to me because of kind of the simple nature of the graphics, and it was just very appealing to me. And Logan, if you see this, I don't know if I've commented, but Logan's doing a great series right now on Lenormand with basic overviews and stuff about books that might be helpful. So I'm really enjoying that. This is my first foray into using Lenormand at all. So that one showed up, and it's just what I need it to be. The other long ago backed and finally arrived deck, as many of you may have also experienced, is the very shiny and chonky Literary Tarot. This is the book deck, honestly, I have not used very much. I think for me, it is more suited to single card pulls so far, maybe until I know it better or until I decide if it's going to remain with me. I love the concept of it. It was for charity. It's literary based. I thought it would be right up my alley. But by the time it got all blinged out, and also by the time the years elapsed, I'm not really sure I'm going to be using it for reading. So it's gorgeous. No complaints. But I'm not sure it's for me. So those were the 4 I had backed last year that showed up. So no cash out of pocket in January for those, or this year. Okay, next on the list, I picked up 2 decks in the secondary used market off of trade groups that were already kind of on my list. They're both independent decks. I don't think they were technically out of print, but I did get each of them at a nice discount. One of them is the Guided Hand Tarot, which is a collage deck. It's fun. You know, I like to read with it. It's a good Rider-Waite Smith or Smith-Waite stand-in for me. A lot of vintage images with hand-drawn elements, and I do enjoy that quite a lot. When I say quite a lot, you know, I'm starting to do the math about once you get to a certain number of decks, how many times are you going to really use them in a year, and that's another bit of math that's a bit of an eye-opener for me, and definitely a consideration in what comes in going forward. The other one I picked up, I managed to get secondhand, even though I already had it in my Etsy cart, is the Moonlit Hermit, which is another collage deck. It is a Taro de Marseille based collage deck that was done with analog paper cutouts, and also I think like the color blocking was done as paper cutouts as well. I think I've said before, because I've shown a lot of these just not in a consolidated video. This was one that I was watching on Kickstarter and didn't back, only because there was something else around the same time that I funded instead. So I picked those both up used. Yeah, so those were nice additions for me. Then the next category I think is more of my impulse buys, and they were the LLewllyn is having a sale, and it's my birthday. So I'm gonna buy, I just had that itch to buy a pile of decks, and I did buy them all at a good discount. And there's a total of 5 in that stack. I think 4 of them I bought together and 1 I bought after. And this one is the most recent. I did get the Circe Tarot. I had seen some of the images and I liked them, and I looked up the artist a little bit. I think this is one they used, or they collated from pre-existing art, because this person had done graphic novel or cartoon-ish versions of the Odyssey and perhaps also the Iliad. And I'm enjoying the way this is reading for me. If I had anything to say about it, and I guess I always do, don't I? Some of the illustrations are in a flatter style, like a slightly less detailed flat style, and others have more detail. Like this, I think, is in the flatter, more graphic style, and some of them have a lot more detail, and I prefer the flat style better. And I also, the only other thing I didn't really completely love is all of the kings look really grouchy. But then again, you know, this is a wartime or, you know, tough times kind of base deck, but I'm finding it's reading really well. I'm also finding it really interesting that it's following the Smith Waite, but it really is based in a pre-Christian, pagan, or, you know, pantheistic or polytheistic society. So it doesn't have that Catholic imagery to it. So I think that's a really interesting aspect of this deck. So I'm really enjoying actually using that one. The other ones I picked up were Taro of the Hidden Realm, which has taken me a little getting used to. I did a video when I got this and said I'm not sure how I was going to make out with things being so based on the expression on people's faces. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but I did read the whole book because the reason I got it, I wanted to read a Barbara Moore tarot guidebook because I didn't have any experience with her writing. And that did help me. I liked some of the different perspectives in here that I hadn't thought of before. So I'm working with it. I'm not averse to this deck. It's a little bit of a learning curve for me just because it's not what usually strikes me, but I do enjoy using this in readings. The other kind of off the cuff, like impulse buy, was this, the Gilded Tarot Royale in a tiny little pocket version, because it was, again, on sale and so darn cute, and the flashy, colorful images kind of worked for me on the small scale. This is one I like to have in my bag and use it at work. I find it just kind of fun for that. And then I bought 2 oracles. I picked up the Into the Lonely Woods Oracle. I did mention this is not exactly my comfort zone, but because I have been working with some Glyph stuff, I decided to get the Sad Oracle cards. Was that a wise choice? I'm not sure, but I have been referring to them a little bit when I just need some quiet time, and to sometimes to get through my day, I'm having to shut things off a little bit and just to kind of check back in with myself at the end of the day. That's pretty much what I've been using this for. I don't use this to read, you know, for divination purposes. And then the other oracle I picked up was the Prophet. And this one's interesting. I do pair this with tarot readings, not with any specific deck, but it's a very interesting combination for me of text and images. I do love the image that's on the cord back. So I haven't used those 2 oracles that much, but they're in circulation. Then I thought there were 4, but I'm finding I have 3 decks piled up next to me where I backed them on Kickstarter this year, and they also arrived this year. And the first one of those is the Black Salt Tarot by Logan over at Lark and Legend, which, again, I've just started working with and doing readings with. And this one, to me, is one that I don't do single card pulls. This one really works for me when I especially do like a 3-card pull or a larger spread. I'm loving the pips. I'm just really enjoying it. I didn't have, you know, sometimes I back something or I'm attracted to something and then I think, oh, I already have 5 decks like this. And this one was different for me. I did like the black and the holographic silver of it. And yeah, digging that one. The next one I backed this year and received this year was Levi's Arcane Warrior Tarot. And this one can work either way for me. It's kind of interesting as part of the day because they do all have affirmations on them. So I find it is a really good to doing my single card of the day pulls with. The cards are on the larger side, so I don't do big spreads, but I could do 3-card spreads with these, and I enjoy having this one in my collection. And a lot of them just seem to be finding and telling me how I'm going to use them. And the next one is the Tarot Ultraviolet, which I think the Kickstarter closed in January, and then I received it not too long after. Again, this is another quite large deck. I really like it. And the cards are big, and what this deck seems to enjoy having me use it for is to do like a month ahead, maybe like a 5-card spread for the month ahead, and then leave it out somewhere where I can look at it for the month. And it seems, I love the knights in this deck. They're all kind of in motion in some way. I love this one, Guide de Pentacle. So that is cool. So those are the ones I had backed on Kickstarter that have already showed up. Now there's 3 that I backed that are still pending. I have to find out. I won't even remember the name. What is that one? The Solera Occulta, which I think right now is shipping. I did back the Embroidered Graveyard Oracle 2nd edition, and I backed Lennox Reese's Peculiar Pathways Tarot. And, you know, I think I should not go on Kickstarter. It's hard because if I watch YouTube and then people are interviewing creators, and I really love some of the work I'm seeing, but I also don't want to overload myself with decks. I think you all know the struggle. Then I have 3 decks that I did purchase because I don't really fly anywhere. Well, I don't have the power of flight. So when I say I don't fly, I mean I don't use airplane travel a lot. So on my credit cards, when I get points, I can transfer them into gift cards. So I had some points that I transferred into, you know, bookstore gift cards. So the decks that I did pick out this year from that little stash was the Squid Cake Marseille. I like this deck. I love the size of the cards. I love the color palette. I love a lot of things about it. Have I sat down and figured out Marseille yet, and how should I be reading the pips differently from just saying, oh yeah, the 2 of coins, I know that from doing so many Smith-Waite readings. I have not gotten into that level of anything. I mean, I just, in the back of my head, have a very basic sense of, you know, the numerology, but getting around to any kind of Marseille study hasn't happened. Look at those pink edges, come on. But this is a nice, cozy deck for me. I do love that one. I picked up the Woodland Warden's Oracle. Not sure. Like I said, I had a store credit and it was kind of calling to me for a little while. I do really think it's quite beautifully done. I haven't used it a lot and I have not looked into the book at all, but that's one that it usually sandwiches in nicely. If I'm, again, I've said it 100 times, right? If I'm using Oracle and Tarot, I'm not trying to make them match aesthetically. I'm pretending it's a dinner party where different guests have been invited that are having a conversation off in the corner that I'm going to go listen to. And they may be people that you would look at them and think they're not going to get along, and then they do. And then the last one I picked out from that stash, I did get the William Blake Tarot of the Creative Imagination at Burns deck. I've had my eye on this for probably, I don't know, 3 years, and I kept not getting it. At first, I was thinking, oh no, everything's renamed, and then I've relaxed more, and because I am using this more as it's intended for creative practice, I'm not all stressed out anymore about things having different names, and I do really like it. I've always been drawn to Blake's watercolors, and I know these are kind of collaged together, and we didn't get the ghost of William Blake to design the tarot, but I am still enjoying it. This one's pretty new to me, so I'm just starting to get to know it, and sometimes is it weird if it's on the passenger side of my bed with a giant stack of books? I guess not. Then I have 2 decks that were gifted to me. One my sister came upon rather randomly, called the Stitchery Witchery Tarot by Queenie Black, dated 2021, and that's all I know about it. I know that it is sewing themed with a little goth edge to it. It's a little bit monochromatic. I like it. The cards are super slippery, so I haven't really read with it. And also, I think the reason I haven't read with it, I forgot to write it down. Now that I think of it, it is not on my list of decks, so I haven't been picking it because I forgot it was on the shelf. So that's a note to myself. And then, I don't know if I can show it, but it's got holographic edges that have stars on them. I don't know if the light will pick it up. So that one is totally cute. And then the last deck was very much a surprise gift. I had a co-worker that I'm quite friendly with who just came back from a trip to Rome and brought me back the most beautiful gift of one of the Il Meneghello tarot decks, the 1893, oh boy, the Giovanni Vacchetta. And it's just, I mean, the paper, the coloration, everything about this is so beautiful. I don't know if I'll ever shuffle it and do a reading with it. It's more of a study. I'm just enjoying looking at the images and thinking about how they're different or the same. And, you know, if I wanted to do more study about historical tarot, I'm really curious about this deck. The pips, I mean, they're, you know, they're pips, but they're kind of funky pips. Like this is the ace, the 2 of wands, the 3, we've got this whole dangling fish and the trident going on. This kind of celebratory fruit thing going on. So yeah, cool, beautiful deck, a very generous and beautiful gift. And that's where I stand. That's what I added this year. So I think that was 21 that came in with 3 more pending. I offloaded 9, I think, 9 or 10 I gave away. I have a couple that are independent I might try to sell. And then, like I said, there's 3 Kickstarters I've backed that will be coming in. And the only 2 things I have my eye on for next year are the reissue of Rachel Pollack's Shining Tribe deck, and Cedar McLeod is working on what was originally a tarot, then an oracle, now is back to being a tarot again with the Magic Pantry Oracle, which I'm enjoying seeing the process of that being painted on their Instagram account. So yeah, so I'm really still trying to figure out how does each deck want to be used, which decks aren't being used, and I've started to pull out the ones where I just know I'm not using them. And in some cases, it's because something's gone out of print and now I've gotten too precious about it. Even though I just told someone else to open up their out-of-print deck and use it, I'm guilty of the same thing. And in at least one case, I have an indie deck. It's not out of print, and I think it's beautiful, but try as I might, I cannot get a reading out of this thing. So I may just have to release it to the universe. And that's where stuff stands. So I figured, why not put a collection video out there? They kind of write themselves, don't they? I hope you're all well. I'm very bad about leaving comments when I'm watching people's stuff because it's usually, I'm cycling through a big watch later list. So again, as usual, I'll try to go back and give you all little hellos because I am watching and catching up from time to time, and I hope everybody's doing well. Happy taroting. Bye.